noted that there have been abuses of incumbency, where those who wish to organise rallies where governors are not of the same party, that they have been hindered in some way. We have seen instances in which there have been intimidation, and therefore we took note of these issues, and these fall well short of international standards that Nigeria has set for itself.
Hello, my great and wonderful people. How on a day today? I hope all of you are day well. Today we get series of videos when we see with the receiver from the international observers when we see they come observe the election when it take place on Saturday for inside this country, Nigeria. A lot of them don't decide to speak up concerning the things when we say their eyes see, and also the way when we say they condemn the system when INEC they try to project to Nigerians, even for the era when they say they call democracy. I will leave you to watch the videos one after the other. I think we get about 3 videos when we say we showcase to you today. I beg, just be patient as we roll them out one after the other.
Still in Abuja, where European Union election observers are giving their report on the ongoing Nigeria election.
Country. As regards making a difference, each election observation mission stands on its own merits. So we deployed here in early January and we began our process then. Nevertheless, our methodology means that we come back sometimes within 3 or 4 years to examine whether or not the previous missions' conclusions and recommendations are leading to actual implementation. And the previous mission came back a year ago and examined the 30 recommendations and found that 13 of them were already implemented or partially implemented, which is, I think, indicative that we do make a difference, that our efforts serve to deepen the roots of democracy here in Nigeria, and we think it's the investment of time and expertise of our core team, our long-term observers, is appreciated, and if there is criticism, it is received in the spirit in which it's given, which is a mutual respect and an insistence on standards of democracy, which Nigeria already aligns itself to, and the standards that are contained in legislation here in Nigeria.
Thank you so much, the Chief Observer. We'll take more questions, if there are more questions.
Just one here.
Yes, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Chiamaka Okafo. I work for Premium Times. I have a few questions. First is to Mr. Andrews. In your speech, you made mention of lack of transparency and proper planning from INEC. I would like you to expatiate on that. And to the head of the EP delegation, talked about instigation of violence and, of course, violence through the process on Saturday. 2 questions there. Are you concerned about post-election violence? Did you get that? Post-election violence. And then secondly, like your counterparts, the US and the UK, there's been a promise to impose visa bans and sanctions on people who are found culpable for instigating violence through this process. Are you also looking at that too for political parties or political actors who are found guilty? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. On the transparency, first of all, we acknowledge that INEC had to conduct this election in challenging circumstances. And we are very conscious that the Electoral Act provides a very important legislative basis and framework that instilled a lot of trust in INEC in the run-up to the election from political participants and encouraged many people to take part. However, the publication of figures in relation to permanent voting cards and how they had been distributed across polling units was not made available. The information about the distribution of permanent voting cards across states was made available very late in the process, so that it was very difficult for civil society members of the public here in Nigeria to verify or in any way audit the accuracy of those PVC numbers. And clearly that goes to the transparency of the election, and it is an area which we have noted in our preliminary statement. I'll just mention I'll let Evan speak to the question that was directed to her on security in due course. But on visa bans, The mandate of this mission is of any sort. We're here simply to observe the mission. That's a matter for the European Union, the European Council. We are aware that other jurisdictions have made those calls, but it doesn't fall within the mandate of this mission whatsoever. It would be considered an interference in the process. We're here simply to do that, and that's what has engendered a high degree of trust and credibility on the type of findings, conclusions and recommendations that we make. So I'll hand over, Evan, if you want to address the question about security.
Thank you very much, Barry, and thank you for the question. As stated in the statement, we of course condemn all kind of violence that have taken place. And we also call on all actors to adhere and respect the rules that are in place, and in any case of any disputes, that all disputes are sorted out through legal procedures. So this is our call on all actors in Nigeria, that all disputes should be sorted out through legal procedures, and we hope that everybody will respect and adhere to that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We are still taking more questions, please. Yes, please go ahead. Introduce yourself and the media.
My name is Ubale Musa. I report for Deutsche Welle Radio. Sandro, if you are going to give this election, put it on the scale, you are going to give it a rate, what's going to be your mark on it?
The question was, what mark would we give to the election? Now, our methodology doesn't allow for anything as clear as a mark. You can give a mark to me as performing as a chief observer, if you wish. But so we judge and we accept criteria around election observation, and also on the criteria that are contained in international conventions, like the Convention on Civil and Political Rights that Nigeria is a signatory to, and against the legislative framework that applies here in Nigeria. So. And I also want to emphasize that we're midway through the process, that collation and tabulation is still going on as we speak in other parts of Abuja and across the country. So it would be, it's certainly not something that we would do in any circumstances, but we try to assess the election on the basis of inclusivity, on transparency and credibility, and we'll continue to gather up information as time goes on. Thank you.
Thank you again. Do we have more questions?
All right, that's Barry Andrews, Chief Observer with the European Union Election Observers, the European Mission, giving their observations.
All right, my great and wonderful people. Sorry to say, we just need to leave you to watch the whole details from the question and answer sessions by this very European Union. Now we'll equally take you down to another video.
Of the Institute for Governance and Economic Transformation, a former Nigerian presidential candidate. He joins me now from Washington. Kingsley, really great to have you and share important discussion. I'm sure you heard there the report from Alari Mado. Let me get first your reaction to what we heard in the last, 6-7 minutes or so from former President Obasanjo, who says the election process has been corrupted. Your reaction?
Well, thank you for having me. It's disappointing that there have been significant operational failures by INEC, the electoral umpire. I must praise the young people of Nigeria, the youth of Nigeria, who have so much looked forward to this election to be able to express themselves, perhaps for the first time, and feel that they have elected their president in a free and fair election. What we see in Nigeria every 4 years, unfortunately, is that INEC claims to be ready for elections, but at the end of the day, you have very serious glitches that begin to undermine confidence. I am aware that the European Union, the American observers, and various other international observers have expressed some reservation about the transparency of the process. And I think that's very unfortunate. And now we have former President Olusegun Obasanjo chiming in, and that's quite a weighty voice indeed.
Yeah, and it's not just, it's not just the glitches, I should say. It's actually electoral officials not showing up, violence too. Obasanjo also said in the last 7 minutes or so, the Electoral Commission should repeat polls in locations where there was violence, where officials failed to show. What do you think, Kingsley?
I think that's a wise suggestion, and INEC might be or would be wise to very seriously consider that in order to shore up confidence in its conduct of the elections. If, as it claims, these things were simply just failures that were operational and nothing more, then they should be able to repeat some of the elections, because if a large swathe or if there are problems in many parts of the country, that could undermine the legitimacy or the confidence that people place in whatever are the ultimate results that are announced.
Obasanjo said that the current President Buhari, Muhammad Buhari, should intervene. Do you think he ought to intervene?
Well, the Independent National Electoral Commission is officially supposed to be independent. Many people, of course, do not believe so. Do not believe that. And in a country where the institutions are weak, not strong, many people do believe that a sitting president certainly can, for purposes of national security, for example, suggest to INEC that they may take this kind of line of action.
I mean, we have so many questions. The most important one, I think, is why did the Electoral Commission get this so wrong? Voted blighted not just by delays, but violence, those not showing up. I mean, how much was incompetence? How much was voter suppression here?
It's a large mix of both, to be very, very honest. First of all, elections in Nigeria are run in the usual political way. The elections are a huge logistical operation. Nigeria should take a professional project management and risk management approach to running elections where, in this case, 87 million people collected voters' registration cards. But they never do that. So we see a huge failure of institutions in Nigeria, and it's always at the last minute. There will be huge operational failures, and then you'll just be having excuses. And of course, there was voter suppression. Now, we know that one of the major surprises in this operation, in this election, was the performance of the third force, which is the Labour Party, Peter Obi, and we saw the upset they recorded in Lagos. But we also know that a lot of voter suppression went down in Lagos, in Port Harcourt, in Rivers State, and reports also we have it in Imo State. So these are very significant shortcomings, and they should not be happening. The security forces came in. A lot of army people were moved into Lagos, but they were not properly positioned to be able to stop or prevent these voter suppression exercises.
Kingsley Molo, really appreciate you taking time to speak to us. Thanks very much, Kingsley.
Thank you for having me.
All right, my great and wonderful people. I believe you don't hear that breakdown from the former presidential aspirant, we'll be seeing him now, Kingsley Moghalu. Now, I'll quickly take you down to this last video we'll be with the receiver from the complaint of Nigerians. May you hear what the Nigerians talk for this video. We'll come back.
Isaac Ndayo. Okay, to add up to what Collins actually said, do you know that as at that yesterday, when we came here to exercise our civil rights, after everything, they told us that they couldn't find the vivas for O, N, and M. And we asked a question, why is it that we are not going to vote the O and M, N? They told us that the vivas, we might actually vote if our names are there. And later on, they told us that they can only capture 800 people from the vivas. And we're like, what's going on? Do you know that some person also, they were inside, there is some of the coppers, they were inside printing for APC. And then when we asked what is actually going on there, they told us that they were signing. After everything, someone have to go inside to check carefully what they were doing. And they caught him red-handed. They caught him red-handed. It was printing. It's not fair. And we are all here. Over 8 or 10,000 of us were outside here doing nothing with our PVC, and yet they will just accredit some person using the beavers to capture them, but they did not go and vote. They did not go and thumbprint for the party. Someone is actually going there to do the thumbprinting for them on their behalf. It's not fair. So therefore, we are calling for the world to come to our rescue.
All right, my great and wonderful people, I believe say we don't need any more explanation from the beginning of this video for all the observations from the international body and to this last video of Nigerians when they say they cry commerce concerning the experience when they say they be a witness to even during this time of this election. All right, we dey here, they watch them from our plasma TV. The end we tell. We will see how it be say INEC and the federal government of Nigeria will take escape all this issue. And at the end, they will tell us say, na their will, na it prevail with the weights. All right, share your own opinion with us in the comment section, even as we draw the line here. We will see you again when we see you. Remember, we love you all. Bye-bye.